couple of months ago, I stated on this show that I thought hot seat season would be kind of non-existent this year for a number of reasons. So let's get into that. Shane asks, do you still believe most head coaches are going to be immune from the hot seat, even if someone like Will Muschamp goes 2-8 this year? Okay. So a couple of months ago, general consensus was and still is, as far as I can tell, that football revenue was going to be down this year. Nothing is normal. Everyone's been thrown for a loop. You've got unprecedented challenges. So even if we were planning on firing a head coach, we can't do it. Optics alone would just be terrible. It would be a nightmare. So that football revenue being down being one of the key instigators here and kind of hitting the pause button. But point was and still is, most people think that you won't have many head coaches being fired unless they're fired for scandal, for like cause related reasons. And cause is not 2-8. So let's think this through here for a second. Big question is, how much does that August logic hold up in December? Because you know that a lot of people say things before anyone's gotten their hands dirty and anyone's gotten the uniform dirty. A lot of people say things that will happen and what they'll do if this happens and what they'll do if that happens. But then you go through the heat of battle for 10 SEC games if you're Will Muschamp, and you come out and let's say you do go 2-8. Muschamp at 2-8. Now I can tell you right now, as sure as it's Sunday, what the arguments would be from his camp to keep himself and his staff around another year. First, obviously, COVID. And so we had a non-winnable situation this year. We had the schedule set up like we wanted it, had a couple of out-of-conference games to tune up, and then we were going to dive into conference play, ease our toe in there, got a new offensive coordinator. You told me I needed to make changes. I made changes. Then they took spring from us, and the changes haven't taken root yet. And by the way, if I need to sell you on the fact that the players still believe in me, need I run the name Gunnar Stockton by any of you? 5-star quarterback just committed to me out of the state of Georgia a couple of weeks ago. There's our future. I got our offensive coordinator. Now I got our quarterback. Just give me time. That would be the argument. Can you sell 2-8? Reasonably, can you sell 2-8? We were talking about this in one of our editorial meetings the other day. And, the general consensus was presented, but I don't know if it was maybe Barton Simmons or I think it was Barton, kind of made an interesting point. And it was this. Yeah, you got general consensus, but what if someone goes rogue? What if one of those athletic directors goes rogue? And here's what he meant. I kind of thought about it and I said, what? That's a good point. And it ties right into Shane's question here. You could sit back and you could say, okay, football revenues are down. We can't be affording to buy out the current staff and pay a new staff. And it would look terrible even if we could afford it because, other places are going broke and our football revenue is down, period. So we're trying to pinch pennies here. Let's just wait until next year. You could be like that, and most people will. However, think about it if you're South Carolina. This is not a tier 1 program. So in any normal year, if you're firing your head coach, you kind of got to get in line and you got to wait for the big boys to make their move. If there's an opening at USC, for example, coaches are going to choose Southern Cal over South Carolina 9 times out of 10. That's just the harsh reality of the sport. So you got to kind of wait for the big boys, and then there's a pecking order, and eventually it's your turn. But see, in this year, everyone could hit the freeze button. What if you go rogue? What if you look around and say, wait a second, cross your arms and you say, we think we're going to end up having to make this move anyway. Why don't we just swallow it? If we take a short-term PR hit, that's fine, but everyone else is sitting still. There are 2 entire conferences of coaches that are bored out of their minds. They've just been sitting on their hands for 2 months. And so there could be several candidates that we could go for there, and we could jump right to the front of the line because no one else is firing anyone. This could be our one opportunity to jump right to the front of the line. Easier said than done, but it does raise an interesting question, Shane, that I don't think we know the answer to. If you have a 2-8 disaster season for South Carolina, and those folks realize we're going to make this move eventually anyway, no, it's not going to look great, but right now let's make the move because we could jump right to the front of the line and have our pick, as much as we'll ever have our pick, of qualified candidates out there. We'll never have this situation arise again. What most people see as an insurmountable hurdle, let's turn it into an opportunity for us. Wouldn't be crazy. That's all I'm saying. I don't think that would be crazy. All fingers crossed that it doesn't happen, because as you guys know, I like Will Muschamp, so I hope that doesn't happen. But Shane's the one who mentioned it, not me, Coach.